attend. So this is 2 days before the test, right? The first thing that I'm going to put into the chat would be, let me find my Zoom. All right. I want to screen share. Okay. So welcome. I am recording this screen recording so that people can see it if they're not here. We're 2 days before the exam. You will have 20 minutes, so I need someone to stop me with 25 minutes left in the class. Do I have a volunteer to do that, please? Because I want to give you the opportunity to at least draft your argument essay. The first thing I want to show you, and I will include this in this video post on Google Classroom for people who are not with us, but I want to show you the actual test that was given about a week ago to people who signed up to take it on paper. So like you could have signed up for this on paper. In fact, at other schools, you may have had friends take this a couple weeks ago on May 12th on paper. I know some people who just have arrived, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat. Again, this is the, I lose the chat, okay. All right, this is the actual test. So they don't include the multiple choice questions, right? But it starts with a synthesis essay. You'll see their prompt right here, which is really strange, okay, really strange. Handwriting instruction, we don't teach handwriting. They taught me handwriting, cursive. I had to write in cursive. In fact, when I was in 3rd grade, I won the Ohio State Children's Cursive Writing first place winner, whatever that means. So any student who is doing their MCAS makeup, so that's basically it, right? Please report to the library. Should we still learn cursive, basically? And so that's kind of a strange one. So you could get a strange one like that, right? For people who've just joined, welcome. I am putting in the chat the test that was given about a week ago on paper. So you could have had this test if you decided to take it on paper. So yours is going to look similar. So yeah, this synthesis prompt is a little bit strange. Handwriting, cursive, should we put time into it? Has technology taken that away? And then remember the strategies I went over. These were the different types of sources that they had. And then they had a graph, right? Which again, I freak out when I see a graph, so I would just skip that one, but whatever. Then they have the rhetorical analysis. So synthesis is first. If you took the digital practice, my apologies, it was much longer. It was an actual test. And I didn't know that. I thought it would be less than that. But if you did that test, they didn't have the order like they do on the exam day. Rhetorical analysis is second. They had an Obama speech, which I really want you to have because he is the king of a syndeton. He just, most of his sentences are those run-on. A syndeton's easy to spot. There's a run-on sentence, no ands, no buts, just commas. It's a syndeton. Take it. You're done. You're done with a paragraph. So anyway, he's the king of a syndeton, so that's his speech. Then they had the argument, and this is the argument. This is about perfection, right? Write an essay that argues your position on the value of striving for perfection, and this is all from your head. 3 universal ideas or 2, depending on your time left. Now, tomorrow, important that you're here. I'm having you actually set up alarms on your phone. We're going to do it as a class. Remember how I had you do that for the mock exam in January? They do not stop you. All you have, I believe, is an hour and 45 minutes for 3 of the essays. They don't stop you for the times, which I hate. So a lot of people they don't have time to do the last essay. You must put those alarms on your phone, okay? And I'm going to do that with you tomorrow. So everybody will be set on that, okay? So please come back tomorrow. Now, I want to show you the first thing we're going to do is set up the exam. Please take a moment to find your Lenovo laptop or another non-Chromebook that you have that you've already downloaded the app on. If you have not downloaded the app, you need to do that first, and you won't be able to do what I'm teaching you now. So you're going to have to go back and watch this video, okay, to learn to do what we did. Please hear me on this, okay? If you do not get into the exam to set it up 24 hours before the exam, which is tomorrow by 11:30 a.m., you will not be able to take the exam. And that happened to people taking AP Gov. You do not want to drag this out any longer. You want to get done with this exam and move on with your life. Forget all this, right? So please, by 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, you have to, so I want you to do it now if you can, so that you have it. All right, so we're going to get down to exam setup 24 hours before the exam. People at home, I will give you this slideshow link with the video on Google Classroom, which you would already know because you already have it in your, okay. So questions before we start getting the setup for the exam. Do you all have your Lenovo laptops right now and you're ready to move? Jay, if you just want to watch this, you just want to watch this. Anyone? Okay, are you guys good to go? Can you let me know in the chat if you're ready for this? You need your Lenovo laptop. One person's ready. Is anyone else ready? Okay, thank you. Let me give you a minute. So again, you're finding your Lenovo laptops. Please text me or private message me if you have issues with that right now or you need more time. Okay, if you've done the exam setup, you can look ahead. I'm going to give you this presentation for the argument in a minute. So if you're finished, ignore this if you're not finished. But if you've already done it, then you can look ahead at the argument stuff that I'm going to briefly go over. Okay. All right, for each exam you take, so even if you've already taken another AP this year, okay, oops. Let's get into this, sorry. Let's see. Okay, this step loads the exam onto your computer. So we know it must be done on the computer that you will be using for testing. Once you're finished with the setup, the computer cannot be shared with another student until the exam is over, okay, and you've submitted your responses. This is really, really tiny, so I'm going to try to make it bigger. Students can access through the exam app. So go ahead and sign into the exam app. And please let me know if you have any questions while we're going with this. You need to find My Exams up in the upper left-hand corner and click on it. And you should see loaded AP Lang. So you should see loaded AP Lang under My Exams. Please let me know if you're not seeing that. So people who have just joined us, welcome. I am going to give you the exam setup slides in the chat, but you don't necessarily have to open them right now. What I'd like you to do is make sure you have your Lenovo laptop. If you have not downloaded the app, you need to do that ASAP. Right now, we're loading the test, and this has to be done by 11:30 tomorrow.
Attention, please, to the interruption. This is a final call for any student who needs to do an MCAS makeup.
So if you have not done this tomorrow,
again, any student who needs to do an MCAS makeup, please report to the library.
If you have not done this tomorrow by 11:30 a.m., you will not be able to take the test, okay? And that did happen to people. All right, then you just want to click Start Exam Setup. Okay. Let me know if this is not working for you, but we've got to have this done before, I say by Monday at 3. Technically, you have by Tuesday at 11:30, but that's calling it close. And then finally, you want to, click whatever permissions. Okay. Any questions, or is there something that I'm not getting to that you're finding is a problem? Okay. Can you please let me know in the chat? You can direct message me if you have set up the exam. I need to know. If you haven't, please let me know why and what you need to do that by tomorrow at 11:30. Please, 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 let's just get this over with. We do not want to take it June 4th. Okay, so if you have a no, you're going to, I got it, yep. If you have a no, you're going to text me or private message me, okay, because I haven't heard back from a lot of you. All right, thank you for that. Any questions before I move on to the argument essay?
No, Miss.
Okay, thank you for saying that. All right, this is a slideshow pretty much that I've shown you before back in maybe January, February, when we began this unit. Very important to know, I didn't do a cheat sheet for this, and most of you should have received your cheat sheets in the mail. If you didn't over the weekend, you should today. Here is the slideshow for this. I didn't do a cheat sheet because hold on. It is the same as a synthesis. And I'll explain what I mean by that. You have the same, you're going to use the same thesis as you would for the synthesis. Same thesis. Same universal, you're going to think of universal ideas, right? So hold on one second. Jay, I need you here. Jay, I need you here. Thank you. All right. So same thesis, same, come up with 3 universal ideas, 3 ways you're going to show people that you know how to do this. So if you got the test from last week and, what do you think about perfection in life? Is it possible? Is it attainable? Yes, perfection is attainable because universal idea 1, universal idea 2, okay? I always say that the fallback universal idea for synthesis and argument is economic something to deal with the economy, right? You'd have to work at, is perfectionism, does that have an economic impact? You could always argue that it does, right? People who are perfectionists tend to make more money and they have more, they achieve more opportunity. It's a stretch, but it does work. So I also always think individual impact, societal impact are 2 other fallback universal ideas or 2 other paragraphs that you could have. So remember that, right? What's the impact on the individual? What's the impact on the society? Or negative, or economic impact, all right? Are 3 fallbacks. You have to have a side. You have to pick a side. If you say both, well, perfectionism could be this, or no, you have to come down on a side. That has to happen in 30 seconds. So if you're struggling to decide what side you're on, right? If you agree or disagree with the prompt, you've just got to fake it. It doesn't matter what you personally believe. You are a lawyer. You just come up with it in your mind, but you have to immediately choose, are you, for or against, agree or disagree with what they're saying. Obviously, you are going to have your position. You're going to have your universal ideas to start each paragraph. It has to be idea-based. You do not start with examples. Same for synthesis. Topic sentence is never an example, right? Topic sentence is your universal idea, one of the ways you're proving, right? And hopefully 3. If you can't do 3, especially because this is the last essay, then you do 2, right? Or you even start your 3rd. Even if you have a really, really small 3rd, you can still score college credit on this essay, meaning you could still get a high score. So do your best with at least 2 of them. What is evidence? I said this was exactly like the synthesis, except you come up with your own evidence. There's no text, there's no evidence. It is just like, take a look at this one that they had, right? It's just this. It's just the prompt right here. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need this stuff, although I say to reword this, steal this, and have this start your introduction. That's my hack, right? 2-sentence introduction. Something about the background of perfectionism, make it up, and then your thesis. That's done. So this is not about the introduction and conclusion. They don't grade that. You get 1 point for the thesis. If you follow this, although some people believe that perfectionism is not possible, in fact, perfectionism is not only possible, it is necessary in order to benefit the individual, society, and overall productivity of the world. Something like that, right? I have my 3 ideas and I start with a counter. Where did I get the counter? From the prompt. Right here. Right here. People often demand perfection in ways that are challenging to live up to. That's your counter. If you believe that perfection is possible. Always, for synthesis, essay, and argument, always use what's in the prompt for your counter to launch your thesis statement, right? If you write a thesis statement that is this, you will earn that 1 point. So don't make it harder for yourself. Use the cheat sheet, okay? Find the counter in the prompt. It's always there. Do you need all this? Well, I would use it again to start the essay, right? And to find my counter for my thesis. You don't need this. Don't waste time. Please don't waste time reading things you don't need. Okay, questions so far on how the synthesis and argument essays are different. You come up with your own evidence for the argument. So what is your own evidence? Anything you know. Anything you know. And also the logic, like I didn't know all that stuff I just said. Some of it is reaching, right, for what you've heard in the news and social media, for what you just know in life. You can use personal experience. However, I would stay away from the I, my, me, and I would just say it as a fact, right? I would try to stay away from that. There's a question, how many rebuttals do you need for the argument and the synthesis? So remember, synthesis, I made this map for you, right? This is the smaller version, but you had paragraph 1 could be 2 of a support source with 2 quotes, 2 different quotes from the same support source. Paragraph 2 could be 1 support source that you used in the first paragraph plus another support source that you have not used yet. And you have to say why you chose them both. Paragraph 3 could be your counter and a support source from another, right? A or B, or just you, counter and you. If you don't get to the third paragraph, you have to put your counter rebuttal in that second paragraph. So follow this, right? You only need one counter. If you write 2, awesome. But it's not the quantity, it's the quality, right? So you need a rebuttal somewhere for a high score. So figure out, if you want to do it in paragraph 1, great. You want to start your essay after the thesis with a counter? Beautiful. Again, you only need 3 sources. Now, that was for the synthesis, right? Good question, though. For the argument, it's the same thing. You need at least one counter. Where do you get the counter material? Well, you get the idea for the counter. You could get it up here. But honestly, you have to think, wait, if I'm for perfectionism, if I agree that perfectionism is achievable and that it's hugely important, then I'm going to think, what would my opponent say if I was debating them? What would my opponent say in response to me? What would a friend say to be like, oh, no, right? And then what would be their reason? And then here's how you write a rebuttal. Go back to the thesis statement for synthesis. While many people say that, then you start with whatever it is that the counter is. I always do the while in fact, but go ahead and do a although or even though consequently. You're just stealing it from this frame right here. But you need these parts for not only the thesis statements for argument and synthesis essays, but you also need them for the counter rebuttals, okay? At least one counter rebuttal for synthesis, at least one counter rebuttal for argument. If you don't think you're going to make it to 3 paragraphs, then drop it, do it first. Do it in your first one. However, I don't want to confuse you. For synthesis, when you write your counter, it should be a counter quote. That's important, okay? You don't make it up. So synthesis, you have to find that counter quote. How do we find counter quote for synthesis? You read the headers, right, of the sources. If you're seeing that the headers are for your position, then you're going to use a counter quote or counter paraphrase, right? Obviously, you're not going to quote this source. There's nothing to quote. So you got to figure out what it means, and then you're going to paraphrase something like this. Okay. But let's go back to argument. This is the last essay. Many people are tired, all right? And they're like, screw it, I'm not going to do it. You have to do it. Even if you only write one body, you have to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you tomorrow how to set up your alarms on your phone. You're going to have multiple alarms that go off on your phone. This is the last alarm, 40 minutes, right? You get a 5-minute warning to the end. I'm going to give you a 10-minute warning to the end. This should not be a lot of pre-drafting. It's not a lot because you don't have to find any quotes. The ideas for evidence come from your own head, what you know of the world, okay? You're going to have to sound like an expert. You can't say on July 15th, no, you don't. You're just going to say many people started protesting in the summer after, if that's what you're using, right? You're using the evidence that you know, the evidence from life, okay? Okay, questions so far on what is evidence for argument, what is evidence for synthesis? Some people find this go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
I had a question in general. Like, what if we get a prompt that we know nothing about in the argument essay? How are we gonna do?
Well, I would say it's going to be more like this. I mean, are you an expert in perfectionism? No, but we all know from our experience in the world, you kind of have to decide what side you fall on. And then think about the different parts of perfectionism that you could argue against. Like, many children experience anxiety with perfectionism. How do I know that? I just know it, or I'm spinning it. So a lot of it is spinning what you know. Although many children struggle with anxiety due to perfectionism, in fact, perfectionism is the main driver for success. That's kind of like a rebuttal. So you're just going to have to think of possible outcomes. There's really no other answer to that except for being creative with your brain. Remember the argument generator Padlet that we worked on for a couple of months. I included the link in one of my posts. I will include it again just for you to see what other people have written. You've got to, it's called generative thinking, right? That's what we were doing with that. You've got to just come up with things and be quick about it. Is it the best statement? Did I just make the best statement I could make? No, but it's a statement and I have to go with it. I don't have time to stress about like exactly what it is I'm looking at. You will not be able to search on your computer. However, and I'm only going to say, I will say this, if you know nothing about the topic, I would have your Chromebook, to the side, but it's not something that I would, anyway, I'm just going to say it once. Okay. So, but you're just going to have to just generate that, right, in your own thinking. But remember overrated. Like we don't think about overrated every single day, right? But if you sit there and think, all right, what are the positives? What are the negatives to something? That was a hard prompt, overrated. I think that was the hardest that we've ever worked with. Is there value is there value in exploring the unknown? That was the other one that we worked with. Again, we don't think about it every day, but you're thinking about impact, consequences. You're thinking about consequences that are positive and negative. I always like to think, what are the consequences of this on individuals, on society or family, and whole communities or the world? I like to think about it in 3 levels. That could actually be my 3 body paragraphs. What is the consequences of achieving perfectionism that are good? So you always have to go with good or bad. You have to choose a side. If I just explain the consequences of perfectionism, I am doing this wrong. You will not get credit. You either have to say perfectionism is good, perfectionism is not possible, first of all, and its negative effects, okay? So my takeaway is, once you've decided, is it good or bad, your agree or disagree, then immediately you have to think of 3 ways you're going to prove it. And again, the trick is individual impact, family impact, community impact, or think about like economic impact is always one that can be a fallback in synthesis and argument. Good question. Any questions that are, coming up for you, please stop me and let you know. But this is basically what you do. You're going to talk about the evidence. You're going to explain it. You got to milk it. If I'm against perfectionism and I'm like, perfectionism causes severe cases of anxiety in children starting in grade school. Do I know that for sure? No, but I've heard, I'm talking as if I know. You could always say many studies show that. It's not so much that they're going to question the legitimacy of your evidence. You just have to sound like an expert. And again, remember the debate, right? Remember, you guys aren't experts in safety or freedom, but you sounded like experts and you had relevant rebuttals and relevant arguments. You're connecting it to your position of agree or disagree. Again, examine the implications, meaning what are the positive impacts, the positive effects? How does that positively affect? Again, this is a trick. Individual, families, communities, right? Cities, whatever is relevant to your thinking at the time. And just as an example, we did this one, overrated, which I think is the hardest one that they've given in many, many years. And you basically, what does this mean? The line of reasoning is hugely important in the scoring. It basically means, do you have an idea-based thesis, universal ideas, and do those universal ideas travel to your first sentences in the paragraphs? And then do you kind of have like a through line of your example and you're talking about the example? Does that match the universal idea? So you always have to go back. Let's say I'm proving that there's a positive impact on individuals with perfectionism. Everything I choose about my example and how I explain it has to return to the words positive impact on individuals, right? Or similar words. Those key words have to travel in the paragraph. That's what line of reasoning is. That you should like draw a line, right, down that paragraph. Evidence is always explanation. You're explaining it, and you can really milk it. Like, just go on about anxiety. We all know what anxiety is, right? You're just going to connect it back to perfectionism is bad if you're on the bad side, right? And then why? Again, what is the impact of anxiety for children who strive for perfectionism? All right, that's basically it. I think this one right here is a great visual to have. Your main idea, reasons, right? Evidence. I mean, you know this. You've been doing this since grade school. And then you have to weigh, you have to be pro or con. Here's your counter arguments. Again, get your counter arguments from the synthesis page, same frame as the thesis. Just as in general for all of your essays, please use transition words. They're real simple. Firstly, primarily is your first one. Secondly, finally, and then use transition words throughout. That really does help. This slideshow, if you want to take a look at it tonight, it goes through a rebuttal, but again, this is the rebuttal here. Thesis for your, I mean, all this stuff I'm not going to go over, but this is past prompts are on here. Look, I say, here's how you can divide it. Here are your 3 body paragraphs already. Okay. So if you wanted to take a picture of this slide and have it on your phone, you can do that. Okay. This is a great way to, so slides 22 and 23. Always can be your body paragraphs. Any questions? You know this, trust me. You got to trust yourself. 90% of taking this test, remember, is confidence. So you own this. It's in your brain. You have to give yourselves more credit than what you do, right? Anxiety is a choice for this test. I mean, it's real. I mean, trust me, I have it every day. However, you're going to choose to be confident with this test. Most of life anyway is making it up as we go along. I don't think people talk about that enough, but that's exactly what people do every day. Make it up as we go along. So let's think about that when we're testing. I want you to go to College Board, please, and sign in. So what is it called? It's we're going to get into the argument essay. You're not going to write the full one right now. You're going to get started on it. myap.collegeboard.org. So please take a quick second to get in. What? Oh, myap.collegeboard.org/login, LOGIN. And that's basically, right, you have your same password and whatever, and you're going to go to assessments. You can go ahead and start, but obviously I'm going to call you back at 45. So you could turn me off. Turn me down. And go ahead and start now. Oh, which one is it? It is the first one listed. Sorry, it's the first one listed. It is called GRIT, Argument Practice Before Exam. It's called Argument Practice Before Exam. So for people who are doing this later, who are not present in class, it's right here under assessments. It's the first one, Argument Practice Before Exam. And go ahead and start it. I'm only going to give you the next 18 minutes, so I want you to see what you can do in 18 minutes, knowing it's a 40-minute exam, right? Or essay. Any questions?